This is Aminata, an 11-year-old Senegalese immigrant. This is Amy.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
All right. Welcome and greetings, true believers. This is going to be my first movie review. I got to tell you, I know how to pick them. Uh, I was going through and curating content for another one of my channels, the Chronaxial Archives. Shout out to myself. Um, I remembered that I hadn't seen Cuties. All of the controversy and all of the gibble gobble. And really, it's kind of legitimate because I'll tell you right now ahead of time, without trying to, I'm going to try to make this as spoil free as possible, a partial spoiler, but I'll tell you right up front, it's a good movie and I actually liked it, but it's gratuitous. And here's the worst part is that the film had got Netflix indicted in Texas. Not that it's going to go anywhere, but, apparently according to the DA, Texas law should not find that the film breaks any child pornography laws. So, there is that. And even IMDb has warnings here, has trigger warnings for the movie. Leather pants gets pulled down, exposing her bum. And, other depictions. All right. It's gratuitous as fuck. I mean, then the worst part is that it seems as though there's this dichotomy made where half the male characters enjoyed it in the movie. When these 11-year-old girls, these pubescent children, started gyrating, and the other half didn't. They didn't like. They weren't overtly trying to stop it. They were trying to chastise the half that were enjoying it. And it is a weird sort of universe that is accurate to a degree, but it's kind of like almost like a Black Mirrored version. I don't know. So I get 5 pages of notes. We're not going to do that. But, the first thing that I recall... All right, so let me just start here. Let me try to do this way. So the movie opens, and, Amy is a 11-year-old Senegalese immigrant, and she is with her mom and her 2 siblings. And, she lives a Muslim life. They are committed to Islam. And so, she goes on, she's taking care of her brother, and all that's fine. And you're just kind of like, okay, this is kind of nice. This is probably going to, maybe this is a little overdoing it, all the controversy. They go to their madras where they are given, the sort of, the crushing, overbearing aspects of Islam, where they talk about female subservience and things of that nature. And one of the things I have written down in the quotes, it's like, where does evil dwell? It dwells on the bodies of unclothed women. And it's just like, oh wow, we're going there. In hell, there will be many more women than men. This is a quotes from what's being taught to them in the mosque. So, it gives you an idea, like, all right, if we know this movie is going to be about kids twerking like hookers, and yet what I'm seeing here is a traditional, Muslim setting, the movie is going to be about the juxtaposition, right? So you're like, all right, maybe this can be kind of artistic. All right. So then she goes and she meets the character Angelica, her first little hooker friend. And it literally goes from like this sort of thought-provoking commentary on the integration of, Islam into Western society to kids twerking. She goes from the mosque, goes downstairs into the laundromat. She meets Angelica. Angelica's shaking it and washing clothes, and she's ironing her hair. I give her props for ingenuity. But yeah, it just goes from there and kind of jumps back and forth. Again, I think overall the movie is trying to convey the battle of cultures, how the meeting of heads of two different societies, two different types of mindsets meet in a young person in the upcoming TikTok generation, where information is so readily available. All the things that you would find, hidden from you and you sheltered from in Senegal or wherever you may be in a society that's not westernized, you have readily available at your fingertips at any given point. And really, the movie does a good job in conveying how that conflict not only arises within the central character, Amy. It reverberates, and you see the family changing and shifting as a result, not only of their westernization but of Amy's change changes them. And and then right when you have these thought-provoking questions being asked, and this kind of discernment, they go back to kids twerking and whatever. She goes to school and the friggin' kids are twerking there, and they actually do like a flash mob thing, and it's a lot of it is it's just like dated. There's a lot of dated references. One of the kids says, "We're gonna beat a bomb," and it's just like, what, like, yo, 1993 called, like, all right, whatever. So at one point she is moving, and she sees the tool man, the mover, Amy, and she has this look in her eyes, and it's like, wow, already we're like 20 minutes in, and this kid's gonna try to seduce it. So it just, it tries very hard to, I don't know, have this artistic contemporary discernment but make it edgy, and it's unnecessary. It's really, really unnecessary. Whatever. Moving on, you go through the movie and it jumps back and forth. At one point, one of the girls actually, because they're like little girls are like watching porn and all this, and it starts with the social media, right? So after Amy tries to, after Amy sees the tool man and like gives him the eyes or whatever such, she steals his phone, right, to take selfies. And that's when it starts. And I wrote, social media strikes again. And this is going to keep cropping up, right? The TikTok generation being heavily influenced by social media of all types and varieties for all shapes and reasons, not being beyond just dancing. Right. So it starts with selfies. Then they start watching porn. And from the porn, right, the little friends that she meets, they want her to go into the boys' bathroom and take a video of the boys pissing. And I'm just like, this is blatant sexual harassment. And instead of, because I've never, it's not one of the critiques I hear about this movie, and I feel like that's kind of a double standard being set. You're talking about female empowerment, yet at the same time, this is blatant sexual harassment occurring.
Sitting here rubbing on your penis. Are you serious? Get the fuck off before I beat the shit out of you.
It's really weird. I mean, the whole movie, again, you're watching it and you're captivated by the moments that are really impactful and meaningful about cultural divides and cultural diffusion, about coming of age at a time like this where all information is available but not the right information really is being pushed. You know what I mean? So social media strikes again. They start their little dance. They see the dances of other little mini hookers, and they start doing the dancing. And it's like, the dancing at first is actually pretty on point. You know what I mean? They kind of do more of a pop block sort of thing. But the problem is that the director begins his or her actually, can't recall if it's a male or female, gratuitous butt shots, probably female. The gratuitous butt shotting. And I mean, they linger. Each moment, we'll say out of a 90-minute movie, there's about 20 or so minutes overall throughout the movie dedicated to this sort of gratuitous gyrating, this lewd objectification of children that's going on. And there's no real justification for it. First things that come to mind are like Little Miss Sunshine and Donnie Darko, Sparkle Motion. They managed to convey the dances, the choreography, and the idea. They conveyed enough information to make you uncomfortable, right? And to make it weird. This is just, it's like a YouTube video. It reminds me of Nelly's tip drill, if you remember that. But, you know, whatever. At one point, somebody talks about the one little girl's, little white girl, black girl looks at the little white girl, says the little white girl has no ass. And it's like, dude, what? But fine. And again, with that, that has some purpose to it, right? To kind of illustrate the lack of understanding, the perception that they have. One little girl looking at another little girl and saying she doesn't have a body is kind of ironic. But yeah, just again, they have a lot of these backshot stuff, and they go back later on. They go through more gratuitous dancing and some lewdness, and then they go and there's another social media hit. She's checking out a video that's very much like WAP, right? And I mean, the imagery is striking, as you can see, you know. And then right after that, there's a butt shot again. It's Lato's butt shot, but it's of a full-grown woman. And again, that makes sense, right? That conveys the desire of her to the desire to be perceived in that way, to picture herself in that way. She's beginning to picture herself that way. And that's really where the sort of shift hits in high gear. She overhears her father through her mom talking to her aunt that her father is marrying another woman, and she becomes defiant towards her father, and you know, starts to gain her own agency. And that's really like that's the sort of character development that you expect and you want to see. And honestly, it's sprinkled in between the jumping back and forth. But you know, it's fine. It's fine. They meet these older boys throughout the movie, and thankfully enough, the older boys seem to have more sense than the men. The older boys keep rejecting them. But you know, there's very few moments of those, thankfully. But yeah, going on, there's one point where the girl picks up a condom, and like there's adventures with the condom. But you know, I gotta leave you something. I don't want to spoil the whole movie. But you know, I could go on and on. Like there's a lot of depth that is very much overshadowed by the gratuity. But you know, the girls, they have their falling out. And the falling out is over something that is uber gratuitous. Thankfully enough, they don't actually depict it. But let's just say, think of things that you would take a selfie of other than your face and your chest. Yeah. So, what else do we have here? So then they move on. And they're doing choreography for the dance because it's again like Little Miss Sunshine, like Donnie Darko, Sparkle Motion, and from the WAP video, she's leveled up her sexuality, her ability to convey it, to dance in such a manner erotically, and that's when the ultimate. I guess it probably, I don't know which scene is worse. This one or the one at the end, when they actually do the dance. But it's a lengthy one. It's like 3 to 5 minutes of them twerking. Them being taught how to twerk, them twerking. And it's just excessive butt shots. And, yeah, I mean, there's no real purpose for it to be so lengthy. That ultimately is what crushes it for me. I would almost like to recommend this movie. In a abridged version, cut these things out, cut these sections out. I guarantee you, if I were to edit out all of the twerking, it would be about a 20-minute video or so in and of itself. But it is what it is. So there's a laser tag scene, which I might depict, or maybe in the beginning of the video, maybe right now. But the laser tag scene is the worst part because she manages to seduce her and the girls, out of getting in trouble, out of this guy out of these two grown men, one of which is into it, one of which is looking at the guy, not the girl saying, hey, stop, that's da-da-da-da-da. He's looking at the guy, and he's not even really, really forceful about it. He's just like, really? Really, bro? Really? Excuse me. And it's pretty disgusting. The whole thing is just disgusting, and it really again deters from the viewer from wanting to immerse themselves in the conflict that this girl, and really anyone at that age or any age, has when they come to a new society full of new ideas and new people, and are trying to not only find their way with those new ideas, but find their way within themselves of the things that they were used to, and trying to find a middle ground there. That's really where the story is. There's no need for all of the visuals. There really isn't. But you know, and yeah, and then it's just, I mean, more butt shots, more twerking. They rob. I don't want to say they rob a store. She robs her mother, and then they go and buy a shopping spree. And then ultimately, there's the final dance, and the dance is, you know, it's a dance full of little girls shaking their butt, and it finally hits her. But fine. Ultimately, my critique is that the movie sits well in terms of the one of the first in the new generation of coming of age films that includes the concepts of that technology has brought, this full spectrum integration from the physical to the ideological, right? It changes how you interact with people, how you perceive the world, how you perceive yourself, and really how you convey yourself physically. She is sexually harassed at one point. She stabs a dude. She gets into fights. And none of this is the type of person she was when she first arrives in America. But for me, the ultimate criticism lies with the gratuitous, soft-core depiction of child pornography. That ultimately, I think, would and will remove any impact, really meaningful impact that it would have, and it's unfortunate. People think the movie's about this, when really it's about this.